Hello, happy Sunday. Welcome to another Post-Gazette Sports Steelers training camp update. I'm Brian Batko, joined by Ray Fittipaldo, and as always, we are brought to you by Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci, mesothelioma and asbestos lawyers with over 85 years of experience in the industry. They will make the commitment that you and your family deserve. Visit sdklaw.com to learn more. Ray, this is the last of a long week of camp, and then they'll have the day off tomorrow. It was more of the same. The starting defense for the Steelers, even without Cam Heyward and T.J. in there most of the time, they got the better of the offense. I looked at the two. They started and ended practice today with goal line drills, essentially 7 shots at the beginning and the end.
Yep.
And, if you're scoring at home, at least we think, sometimes there are some subjective calls to be made, but 12-2 in favor of the defense at every level.
Yeah, and the only time the first team offense got into the end zone, Brian, was an Aaron Rodgers pass to Darnell, Washington. They had been 0 for their first 5, kind of saved themselves a little bit by at least getting in the end zone on their final rep. But to me, Brian, it's a theme of the first 2 weeks of training camp. I think the defense is miles ahead of the offense at this point. And I guess at some point we're going to ask ourselves, is the Steelers defense really this good? Or perhaps is the Steelers offense really this bad?
Yeah, it could be some of both at this point. And, we should note Pat Freiermuth had the day off today, so they didn't have the benefit of their safety valve. But Broderick Jones and Isaac Seumalo were back. I think they were in just about every team period, Ray. I wasn't necessarily charting it, but, they had those guys. Aaron Rodgers was back after having Saturday off. And I thought in some of the in-between team periods, they did make some plays between the 20s. DK Metcalf is always on the receiving end of 2 or 3 Aaron Rodgers throws each day. Scotty Miller continues to flash and show up. And you mentioned it in 7 shots. It's looking more and more like a good idea to always just throw one up to Darnell Washington. At least in this setting, he seems to come down with it just about every time.
Yeah, there's been a few bright spots for the offense. I guess if you look hard enough, and for me, the last 2 days, Scotty Miller just making plays everywhere on the field. He had a long catch and run in Saturday's practice, and he was very noticeable here today as well. And he's fighting for a roster spot. And we talked to Scotty before today's practice, and we were talking to him about the offense, and he basically said, listen, there's a lot of new pieces here. We went to Malibu, and we threw and we caught for 3 days with Aaron Rodgers, but it's going to take some time. Aaron didn't come until early June. They didn't add Jonnu Smith until late June. So it's going to take some time for this to come together. I don't know if the alarm bell should sound, Brian, if they're really bad against Jacksonville. I don't know that really matters. But at some point, we're going to have to see something a little bit better from the offense for us to have even the slightest bit of confidence that it's going to be any different this season than it's been the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and we'll find out more next week about who we're even going to see out there against Jacksonville. It might be more likely that we'll have to gauge this group come 2 weeks from now in the not just that second preseason game against the Bucs, Ray, but you know how much NFL teams value that joint practice too.
Yeah.
At Acrisure Stadium. They had the Bills there last year. So I think the offense is working up to a point where you want to see them have some fluidity by then. But, so far out here in Latrobe, other than fits and starts occasionally, we haven't really seen it.
Yeah, maybe they need a change of scenery. Maybe Acrisure Stadium where they'll practice and play against the Bucs will provide that for them. But again, Brian, it's to be expected. There are a lot of new pieces that they're trying to put into that puzzle and fit it together. It's taking some time, but the fans who are up here, like we are every day, I think they're maybe starting to get a little bit nervous.
One new piece had to dust off an old white 93 practice jersey wherever they keep those at, because inside linebacker Mark Robinson was in there today with the offense at the end of practice. They were using him as a fullback in your classic I formation. Connor Hayward did it with the second team. They've had guys lining up there at times in camp, whether it's DJ Thomas Jones. Last year, I can remember one game, Ben Skoranek was in that formation. But Mark Robinson was added to that personnel grouping today. And I used the word spear. Mike Tomlin didn't like that. But I guess I should say we've seen him hammer running backs so often in backs on backers. I guess they finally decided they had an appetite to see it on offense and see what he could do.
And I asked Mark after practice, when did the coaches come to you about this idea? He said today. So they just threw him to the wolves. And listen, it's not a big stretch for him to go out there and played running back. He played running back in college. He was a Presbyterian for a while. That's a small Division I school. And then he finished his career at Ole Miss, where he played a little bit of running back, but then he converted to linebacker. So I do have to say his 2 reps in there, they didn't score.
Yeah.
He didn't look
I was going to say, I don't know if he hit anything, but
Yeah.
that's really what he's there to do
Yeah.
is probably teach him, one gap or one guy to clean up. And that's going to, if he can do that, that would be his job. But hey, for someone like him, we were chatting earlier about the logjam at inside linebacker.
Yeah.
It's a real, the more you can do situation to, not just keep yourself on this team in year 4, but maybe even get a helmet on game days with special teams.
Yeah, I'm sure they're trying to look at in every nook and cranny for, that 46-man, 47-man game day roster. They're going to need guys in different spots. I will say this. It's only one day, and Mike Tallman said after practice, maybe we'll take a look at him again. Maybe we'll put some other players there. When they did this to Kendrick Green a couple of years ago, he was awesome at it. And then they traded him 2 weeks later. So don't read too much into it. I think we might see some other players get those fullback duties as well. But Mark Robinson, in his first effort, I would say, not great.
Early August is time for those experimentation tweaks. DJ Thomas Jones, the actual fullback on the team, the undrafted rookie, was back at practice today, as was Keanu Benton. Mm-hmm. He was back there plugging up the middle with Derek Harmon and Y.A. Black. That was an interesting rep there where the 3 guys of the future were lined up because Cam Heyward was, just working off to the side for most of practice. A couple other injury updates. Still no Corey Trice. Still no Calvin Austin III. I don't know that we've mentioned rookie 7th rounder Dante Kent, who's competing at slot cornerback. Right. He's got a boot on his right foot, so I don't think you're going to be seeing him anytime soon. And if you do, it'll be an uphill battle. Alex Highsmith also tweaked his groin, Mike Tomlin thinks, in one-on-one pass rushing today.
And Mike said today maybe he'd have some news for us on Alex when we get back here on Tuesday. But Brian, knowing Alex's injury history, he missed, I think, 6 games last season.
With soft tissue.
With soft tissue injury. So hopefully this is just something that they can monitor in training camp. I would be surprised, obviously, if he's out here next week. Just get him healthy and get him ready for the regular season.
It's not ideal, but I'll say this. Nick Herbig and Jack Sawyer played really well today in his place. And somebody like Jeremiah Moon, who was previously on the team, was waived, injured. So, it would have been an opportunity for him, but he's gone, and the depth is starting to get a little thin. And outside linebacker, maybe DeMarvin Leal will finally get a chance to put his stamp on a practice or just a rep here and there. He just never seems to win.
He doesn't. But the one guy who was noticeable when they did one-on-one pass rushing drills today, Jack Sawyer. He was really good. He actually lost his first rep to Stephen Jones. He had 3 more against Jones, including a rematch later in practice, and he won all 3 of those reps.
Yeah, he's got to work on his moves as a pass rusher, but that's a big thing for him. For Ray Fittipaldo, I'm Brian Batko. For Chris Carter, thanks for joining us for another full week of practice reports. We will be back Tuesday with this because the Steelers are off Monday. See you then.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.